Princess Maker 2 is essentially a parenting simulator wherein you raise your adopted daughter from the age of 10 to adulthood, then see if she ends up amounting to anything in life. In this endeavor, you'll employ all the standard parenting mechanisms and tactics. Lecturing her, bribing her, sending her to speak with the king, going to church, having her fight dragons, getting her employed doing manual labor at the age of 10, literally throwing her to the wolves, battling a god, going on vacation with her, letting her dine with Satan, the usual. Oh, and taking classes as well. How could I forget that? Taking classes is one of the most important parts of the game. But is it? I know it sounds crazy, but there may be a real possibility that we don't need no education. Alright, I'm too curious. We have to look into this, and answer the question, is it possible to beat Princess Maker 2 without taking any classes? Before we begin, we must lay down the law. What is it exactly that we are not allowed to do? The answer to that is simple. When scheduling our daughter's months, we are not allowed to schedule anything from the study menu, as that is where all of the classes are. Now that our don'ts are established, what about our do's? Or in other words, what's our goal? How do we define beating Princess Maker 2? This is a game with tons of different endings, and I don't know about you, but I don't think getting literally any of them would count as a win here. What I propose is that we aim for a specific ending, and I can't think of an ending more fitting to strive for than the one that is the game's very namesake, the princess ending. If we can achieve the princess ending without enrolling in a single class, it's a challenge successful. Let's begin. Allow me to introduce you to my daughter, Bricken the Wall. Her birthday is August 30th, and her blood type is AB. I know that sounds like useless trivia, but in this game, birthday and blood type affect our stats, so it is actually important information, as this setup allows Bricken to have good stats in cooking, elegance, and sensitivity. Now, speaking of stats, let's talk about what we need to achieve the princess ending. The big ones are elegance and glamour, of which we need 250 and 200 of respectively. In addition, we must have at least 30 morality and less than 100 sin. Those two shouldn't be very difficult to attain. The last requirement for the princess ending is to meet with the young military officer at the palace every year in January. That one's just a matter of remembering to visit every year, and shouldn't pose any real issue. Age 10. Bricken, born in August, has decided that she wants to be a princess when she grows up, and as the cool-headed, responsible parent that I am, I'm taking that wish 100% seriously, and will do everything in my power to make it happen. Step 1 of that plan is teaching Bricken how to cook. If she can become a good enough chef, she may be able to win the cooking contest at the Harvest Festival, which would bring in a lot of gold, which could then be put towards some important purchases. To make Bricken a great cook, we'll need to raise 2 stats as quickly as possible, those stats being cooking and sensitivity. To raise those stats, Bricken takes up work at the local restaurant, which she's quite terrible at initially, but eventually becomes competent at. For sensitivity, I buy her some dolls and get her work as a babysitter a few times. Babysitting does reduce her glamour, but it'll be worth it, trust me. While all this is going on, Bricken has been eating a healthy diet, which costs a bit extra but will help raise her stamina. The reason we want to do that is because when sensitivity is Bricken's highest stat, she has a chance to run away from home, which is not good. With the healthy diet, we should be able to keep stamina as her highest stat and avoid her running away. Come January, Bricken has a chance encounter with the young military officer, and before we know it, August has come around once again, marking Bricken's 11th birthday. Age 11. October has arrived, and with it comes the Harvest Festival, And with that comes the cooking contest. The same cooking contest which Bricken has been preparing to enter for the last year. Will all those days failing to live up to our boss's expectations at the restaurant, watching the little brats at the daycare, playing with dolls, will they bear fruit today? Somewhat. At the young age of 11, without taking a single class, Bricken has taken 3rd place in the cooking contest, and received as a prize 500 gold. Oh, what now? We're celebrating. This had better not be that fortune teller again. Oh, a traveling merchant! And he has the exact item I need. What luck. The item in question is the Venus necklace. It costs 1500 gold, but for that price it will give Bricken 20 elegance and 20 glamour. But that's not all. The Venus necklace also gives her elegance, glamour, and sensitivity equal to her age every birthday. This one necklace, over the course of the game, will grant Bricken over 100 elegance and glamour. So yeah, we're buying this. And when accounting for all the stats this item will eventually grant us, at only a bit over a year in, we're already halfway to our stat goals. The rest of Bricken's 11th year is mostly spent working at the restaurant, which by now she's incredibly good at. Bricken did dabble in hairdressing for a bit, but she's terrible at it. And right now raising her sensitivity by much more wouldn't be a good idea anyway. So as stated, this year is mostly spent in the kitchen. Oh, and I mustn't forget to mention that she did meet with the young military officer once again in January. Age 12. It's Bricken's 12th birthday, and as such we get to see the Venus necklace in action for the first time. Like I said, this thing will be incredibly useful. Once again, the Harvest Festival is one of the first highlights of Bricken's new year of life. This time around, she does manage to win, and as a result was awarded 3,000 gold and a paradise egg, which can be eaten for a good amount of stamina. The traveling merchant swings by once again, and this time I buy the Venus necklace again. Unfortunately, this doesn't double the birthday effect, but it does give Bricken 20 more elegance and glamour. As for employment for Bricken this year, it's comprised of about half restaurant work and half inn work. Why add inn work to the routine? Well, she can't get any more cooking skill from the restaurant, and the inn doesn't pay much worse, so I figured might as well get the cleaning skill up a bit. I think it might actually help her get more blessings from the kitchen spirit, which would be a good thing. Also, she visited the young military officer once again this year. Age 13. Might as well start the new year with a look at Bricken's stats. Overall, it's not looking too bad. We're not quite to where we need to be on elegance and glamour yet, but we've still got time. Stamina is still the highest stat like we want it, but sensitivity is certainly creeping up there as well. Bricken also isn't gaining stamina naturally from her diet now that I've switched her to the standard diet to save money and avoid weight gain. This year really isn't all that interesting. Bricken wins the cooking contest again, she meets with the young military officer again, she works at the inn and restaurant again, so really it's basically just a repeat of last year. Age 14. The new year begins with yet another victory at the Harvest Festival. We're switching up the jobs a bit. This year Bricken is working at the restaurant again, but also at the bar, which pays a bit more and helps to increase her speech skill, which is mostly irrelevant. But hey, stats are stats, right? The bar work is a bit more stressful though, and that's why we're keeping a bit of restaurant work around, so she doesn't get too stressed. Speaking of stressed, I've also had Bricken take a few vacations to the beach this summer to help her lose weight. Now, you may be wondering, why is it I have a vested interest in Bricken losing weight? Well, the reason is that there are certain dresses in the game that raise her stats that we need, like elegance or glamour, when Bricken wears them. But some of those dresses can't be worn if Bricken is overweight. So, to keep as many options as possible open to us, it's important that Bricken isn't overweight. Oh, and she also met the young military officer yet again this year. Age 15. Honestly, it's basically just a repeat of last year. Moving on. Age 16. By now we're getting quite close to those stat goals, with elegance being at 235 and glamour being at 169, which actually means if we're counting the stats we'll gain during her next 2 birthdays, we have actually reached the stats we need to be at. So that's good. Also, we've got over 18,000 gold, so if we really need to, we can buy like loads of teacups to push the elegant stat up further. Not that I think we'll have to. I had Bricken switch up jobs again. This year, in addition to working at the bar, she'll also be working at the church. It doesn't pay very well. Not that we're really desperate for money right now anyway. But it does help get her morality a bit higher, which is a stat that is important to us. And of course she does meet the young military officer again this year. Age 17. The only real difference between this year and last year is that I've put Bricken on a refined diet this year, in order to facilitate some weight loss. Not that I think it'll actually matter, but more options are always a good thing. Oh, and Bricken actually lost the cooking contest this year, coming in second. That's a bit disappointing. Age 18. So, it's time to see what ending we've achieved here. Technically, we could buy a bunch of teacups for her first, or have her wear a nice dress, but I don't think that'll be necessary. And we've gotten the housewife ending. I guess it does make sense given how Bricken's skills are primarily cooking and cleaning. Honestly, Bricken has turned out to be basically the most domestic daughter I've ever had in a Princess Maker game. Oh well. I wonder to whom she's married.
旦那様、またお嬢様にプロポーズしたいという人は帰ってもらえますか？あなたは迎えに来たよ。愛している。結婚してくれ。はい、王子様。
Oh, so we did get the princess ending. So, challenge successful then. It is possible to beat Princess Maker 2 without taking any classes. And I don't really have much to say beyond that. This was just a quick, honestly not too difficult challenge that I figured I'd throw together. If you guys like this departure to a much more niche game, or if you don't, give me some feedback in the comments. But rest assured, the next challenge will be going back to my bread and butter. Kirby, no jumping. See you then. Bye.